Hello, my beautiful Latin America. Welcome back to From Salt to Sand. This is Kay. Today we have Itzel, our anthropology and sustainability expert from Bolivia, who will talk about Uyuni's chatter around the new lithium business we are hearing about every day.
Hi Kay, thanks for having me. Yeah, we're seeing the effects of this whole lithium thing, but for some of us, all the details aren't clearly totally yet.
Exactly, and that's what we want to dig into today. Not to tell you things you already are experiencing, but maybe explain a bit more about the why behind it all.
Right.
And it's worth saying up front, not everyone agrees on this. There are definitely different perspectives, and we'll try to touch on those as we go. So, okay, let's dive in. First things first, what exactly is lithium?
Okay, so imagine a metal that is incredibly light. It almost floats on water. It's found naturally in the ground.
Right?
It's the key ingredient in stuff we constantly use. Think rechargeable batteries like the ones in your phone.
And those electric cars everyone's talking about.
Those especially. It's kind of like a special type of mineral, almost like salt in some ways, but it's really good at holding on to electrical energy. That's superpower.
Oh, wow.
And here in Bolivia, well, the mother lode is in those huge salt flats like Salar de Uyuni.
Which leads us to the question that's been there for a while. Why all the fuss now?
Well, a global shift. All around the world, there's a big push to rely less on, fossil fuels, oil, gas, and stuff that pollutes.
Because of climate change?
Precisely. And electric vehicles, cars that run on electricity instead of gasoline, are seen as a really big part of the answer. Not that they are, but that is a different podcast.
Okay, I get the shift, but where does the lithium fit into the electric car picture?
Well, those electric cars need powerful batteries to run, right? And lithium is absolutely essential for making those batteries work, storing lots of energy and releasing it reliably.
So more electric car means
A huge increase in the demand for lithium. And since Bolivia has, some of the largest known lithium reserves on the planet, particularly in Uyuni, suddenly Bolivia is the key location in this whole new global energy equation.
Got it. So the world needs it, Bolivia has it.
Yeah.
But getting out of the ground, what exactly does that involve? What are the consequences for the people?
The main method involves salmueras.
Ah, the salty mirror-like water?
Exactly. Super salty water that is in fact deep underground. They pump it up into these massive shallow ponds.
And then?
Then they basically let the sun and wind do the work. The water evaporates over months, leaving behind concentrated minerals, including lithium.
Okay, and the big issue everyone mentions is water, right?
Yes, because the evaporation and pumping process uses a lot of water. And we're talking about a region that's already dry. So of course it raises anxiety.
How much water are we talking about?
Well, this year on March 25th, there was a seminar called Bolivian Lithium Contracts, presided by institutions, communities, and authorities to discuss the environmental and human rights challenges of lithium. There, Gonzalo Mondaca, an environmental engineer of La Paz, estimated the potential water use could reach nearly 47.5 million cubic meters of fresh and salty water per year. So that's like 19,000 Olympic pools.
Wow, how does that compare to what people normally use?
Well, get this. The 16 communities down in lower Rio Grande Basin all together use about 71,000 cubic meters in an entire year, like 8 Olympic pools.
Oh my, 19,000 against 8 Olympic pools?
Yeah. It's like comparing a single drop to, a vast lake.
That really puts it into perspective. Are there other environmental worries besides just the sheer amount of water?
Yes, absolutely. Just building and operating the ponds, the roads, and processing plants inevitably disturbs the natural environment. There are concerns about impacts on local wildlife, plants, and the whole balance of the place.
Okay, and what about the promises we always hear about jobs, about development for the region? Is that actually happening?
Honestly, the picture seems pretty mixed. The former president Evo Morales, back in 2008, said lithium was a national priority for regional development. But reports from the ground suggest that many of the actual benefits, like jobs, aren't really reaching the local indigenous communities who live right there.
Where are the jobs going then?
It seems many are going to people brought from bigger cities, often with more technical skills, perhaps. And there's also criticism about a lack of real investment in training programs for local people, so they could get those better paying skilled jobs.
So opportunities right there, but local people aren't being equipped to grab it.
Yes, it feels like promises of prosperity aren't quite matching the reality.
And this ties into another big issue, the whole idea of community involvement, of having a say.
Definitely. There's a lot of concern about whether local communities were properly consulted. Carlos Solon, another panelist at this year's seminar, has mentioned these major international contracts are under a veil of mystery, shielded by the confidentiality argument, you know?
I heard about the socialization workshops. Isn't that consultation?
Well, those workshops often fall short. Legally, communities should understand all the potential impacts and freely agree before projects start.
So just being told what's happening isn't the same as giving informed permissions.
Exactly. And people are understandably worried about what these projects will mean for their future, their land, their water, their whole way of life, if decisions are made without their genuine agreement.
Okay, let's talk about the money side for a second. Who actually profits?
Yeah, the financials are complex. Payouts are where the controversy lies, because initial investments have to be paid back.
Often with interest and fees.
So Solon suggests that in the early years, maybe even for quite a while, the Bolivian State Lithium Company, YLB, might only end up receiving maybe around 30% of the actual income generated.
Only 30%? So the majority goes back to the investors.
Potentially, yes. So it raises questions about how much benefit stays in Bolivia, especially in the short to medium term. It's like, paying off a really big loan before you see any profit yourself.
Okay, wow. So it's clear this whole lithium situation is really complex.
Absolutely.
Do you think there's any potential or is this a lost cause?
Well, I agree with Solon, who mentioned that projects should be designed taking into account resources availability, infrastructure, and clear objectives.
Sounds right.
And I also would like to mention a comment from Graciela Delfino, the Latin American and Caribbean assessor, who said that it is important we promote development in an equitable and sustainable way, integrating communities, considering their voices and needs. I believe that would make a big difference on the path ahead.
I couldn't agree more.
And I think there is hope. If we share this information so that new minds can change the world, yeah.
Indeed. Well, thanks, Itzel, for the class.
Yeah, thank you for the space. Let's keep learning.
Well, hope this has given people clarity and a lot to think about. See you all next time on our next small capsule about sustainable awareness.
Adiós, pueblo bonito.